Hello, how's everybody? Thanks for coming. Hello, hello, sorry for the delay. I'll see if I can fit Neo on the end. As you can see, I've got a really long list of requests for tonight. So I'm going to do the best I can to get through them all. And I'll see what I can do on the end about Neo. I agree, because Neo does look quite interesting. It is sort of perking up a bit. You know, whenever you see a market making a higher low, you're looking for a higher high, and then you've got a big trend reversal going on, haven't you? So I can see why you're asking about Neo. It does look pretty good. Okay, so thanks for coming. If you enjoy this, I'm new to YouTube. If you know anyone who might be interested in this, please share it with them. If you like what I do, I have a strategy group where I do this every day, twice a day. So, and the link's at the top. So that's that business out of the way. Let's start with Bitcoin. One of the biggest questions we get asked all the time, endlessly, you know, especially for long-term investors, is the bottom in Bitcoin? Is the bottom in? And the truth is, I really don't know if the bottom is in Bitcoin. I had always thought that there was a chance we go to most likely down to 2,300, which is the 886 fib level. And the reason for that, if I go to a weekly, is that this is where the next Fibonacci support is in the big retrace from the 2014-2015 low. But there's a couple of reasons to think that we might stop short of there. One of them mainly is this weekly 200 moving average, which we're bouncing off really nicely. So that's the first reason why potentially we could make a really good bottom here. And the second reason that we could make a really good bottom is that this correction, so I'm looking for an 886 fib, right? This correction that we did here didn't quite tag the 886 either. It stopped short of it. And so for that reason, you can see this lows here, we didn't quite get there. So for that reason, if we're at the same percentage retrace as we made when we made the 2014-2015 correction, and this correction that we've made by the low on the 29th of January is equal in length in time. So potentially this is a really good spot for a bottom. So the only thing that we can really do now is we can just put our toe in and keep buying a little bit against this weekly moving average and see if it goes our way. If it doesn't, then we know where we're gonna end up and where the support is. It's a little bit lower. The next horizontal support and resistance is at the round number 3,000, and the next fib support and resistance is at around 23,000, 24,000, depending on what your exchange is. So here we are in Bitcoin. Let's go and look in on the daily at what we're doing. So we've had this big rally off the low. When we were in the strong downtrend and in December, we had a really sharp short squeeze off the lows. I was really hoping to see the same again because a lot of people are still short. Rather than this big move and then this choppy overlapping consolidation before we carry on higher. So it looks like we're in this declining channel, descending wedge, declining channel. If we draw it like this with a little overthrow, then we seem to catch most of these lows, so that's pretty good. So I think that it's a sure bet from here, having done this, that we go to the top of the channel after a pullback in at least an ABC move. So if we put our fibs on from here to here, we've stopped at this 382 fib, this 236 fib around 3,400 in the daily 20 should be support. So I'm going to put that on that way. And if we put our fibs on this way and we take a look at where we are, we've reversed from a 786 fib, Gartley pattern, and when you do that, so this is the 786 fib that we held and the Gartley pattern that we held. When you do that, your target is always a 382. So our target is up here at the 382, 3811, that's the top of the wedge. So that's where resistance is. So now when we look at this, we can see that we stopped at the 50% level in the middle. And so the 618, which is also where that fib support is, should be support. So 35.48 or 35.50, this is BIC stamp prices, should be support. And we should continue higher from here to 38.11. And then we see what happens there. We might break out of this channel. Sometimes when you do that, where you end up is in a parallel channel. So if we clone this channel on the bottom, we apply this to the top, that'll put us 1 fib higher at the 236. 39.73, or retesting 4,000. If we go beyond 4,000, we've for sure broken up and we're in a new leg higher. Then we can say happy day. So beyond 4,000, we're on our way up again. Now, if we measure the first leg, this next leg should have a relationship to it. And the minimum would be, oh look, 4,010. So let's move our resistance up and say, if we get above 4,010, we're going to re-challenge this 786 fib level from the other side, which is a 4,300, 4,400. And if we get above there and hold above there, I think that there's a pretty good chance that we've got a bottom. What we need to see is, if we just see a rally though up to 4,400 or thereabouts, which would be 2 equal measured moves and then a sharp reversal there, we're still in a downtrend. This is a correction and we've just done 2 equal legs of correction. But from here, I think there's a pretty good chance that we go at least to 3,800, probably 4,000 because of this, and then potentially retest the highs in 4,400. This is important trend resistance as well for Bitcoin here. The reason it's a trend, you know, if you think that the daily trend is lower highs and higher lows, if a downtrend is lower lows and lower highs, this lower high here, if we take this out with a higher high, then we have a lower high and a higher high, and we've flipped our daily trend. So this becomes 4,300, 4,400 becomes a really important level. Crypto Fetch, should you buy one Bitcoin of Ripple or TRX? Do you really not have any other choices? No. By Tron, I guess. By BTT. Okay, so that's where we are with Bitcoin. I'm looking for a shallow pullback. It's around 3,500, and then we'll try again to go higher and see where we go. One of the best timing indicators for Bitcoin has been Litecoin. Litecoin has led Bitcoin all the way and looking really good in Litecoin. Here's Litecoin dollar on the weekly. Why does this look good? Because we are above this 200-day moving average that we got below and holding above it. We're above this fib level that we got below and we're holding above it. So 44 in Litecoin dollar is pretty good support. I think it's okay to have a look underneath it intraday, but I think if we hold this, then we're all set to go higher in Litecoin, and the next fib kind of swing higher should be back to 81.50 in Litecoin. Okay, Litecoin has been amazing. The problem is, short term, we're stalled here at the daily 200. So that's our, we should be making a bit of a bullish pennant here as well. So that's our resistance that we need to break above. And we kind of need to hold the weekly 200 underneath us. So here we are sideways. I think we've completed an ABC correction already. ABC like this. Is it enough of one, or is it just the first part of a bigger one? I'm not entirely sure. But I think when we break these highs, that we'll be in the next swing higher in Litecoin. So if you haven't got any, you wanted to buy any, or you wanted to buy some more, that's where I would put my alert, and I would watch for it to break to the upside. If it doesn't break, then there's no trade. Okay. If we measure from these lows back in December in Litecoin, you can see that we really are at a tricky level here, because if I need to measure it, there we go, just right. We're at a pretty tricky level here because we don't have to go much further in Litecoin, 49.45, and we will have done that same thing, an equal measured move here. And if we fail there, then Litecoin, for all its lovely moves, will still be a little bit bearish. Sometimes as well, these levels get front run. So in other words, we don't quite get to the level because people sell ahead of the level. So how will we know if Litecoin has reversed and it's not coming back? I'm going to measure from the low down here like this, and I'm going to say the 236 fib from this low to this high. If we come back below that, we're in a correction, and I'm going to sell my Litecoin and I'm going to wait and see what happens. So that for me would be a close below 42.61. So if we close below 42.61, I'm going to think that that ABC correction has been front run, and I'm going to get out. I got out of the wrong one there. So 42.61. That's my plan for Litecoin. And then I'm going to sit on my hands and wait. Then I want to know, are we going to hold, or will we go back underneath this weekly 200 moving average on a close? You know, that will not look, so you can see that would have the look of a bear flag then in Litecoin, and we don't kind of want to be hanging around if that happens. And that would also be quite a good leading indicator for what Bitcoin is going to do. Is Bitcoin going to break out of the channel or just make an ABC correction again? So that's how I see Litecoin and Bitcoin. And I have to say that I really do think Ethereum looks better than both of them at the moment. And I love, in Ethereum, I love how the round one number, kind of 100 number, I've got ETH euro up here. I need to change that back to ETH dollar.
I left a stop in Litecoin, we got stopped out. So.
Oh, James just told me he left a stop in Litecoin and we got stopped out this morning. Oh well, it's a profit stop, right? So does CND still look good? I think it does, yes, but I'll talk about CND when I come to it, because I should update on CND. So here's Ethereum dollar. So just like my theory with Bitcoin of how, you know, from the lows to the highs, these fibs are like a staircase. When you get underneath one, they become resistance and you need to get back above them again. Well, in Litecoin dollar, that number is 167. Here on the weekly, it's the 886 fib retrace from the all-time highs to the all-time lows. I'm going to put them on the right so you can see it. 167.56. So just like Bitcoin with that 786 fib and that sort of level, the level that we've got to get above to say we've really bottomed in Ethereum is 167.56. And the weekly 20 moving average is there, prior lows, prior highs. There's a lot of adding up to make this the level. So that's where we are looking for on our next leg of rally higher, 167.56. I'm using Bitfinex prices, whichever broker you're using. You look at where the September lows were and the January highs. That's your pivot level that you've got to get above. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. If we rally from here and we just make an ABC correction, we'll fall short around 154, which is where we'll be 61.8 of this first leg. And again, if we don't make a new high, if we don't take out this previous high, we could just be making another big bearish pennant or bear flag in ETH. So 167.56 is what I'm looking for us to rally to. Short term, we're stuck between these moving averages. We're stuck underneath the 50 and above the 20. So resistance at 127 and support at 117. I am thinking this will pull back and then carry on higher from here to at least 134, but more likely up towards that 157 level, and we'll see what happens there. So what says the 4-hour Bollinger Band is very tight in a bear. It is very tight, isn't it? It's been a very difficult range in a lot of these coins. A really really difficult range. So ETH, one of the reasons I think I like ETH is if we take a look at ETH Bitcoin's been a really good altcoin indicator. So when Ethereum is going up against Bitcoin, for the most part, it's a really good time for altcoins. In ETH Bitcoin, from the low that we made in December, we've bounced on a double bottom from this 618 fib level. That means that our target should be at a minimum this 382 here. So ETH is going to outperform Bitcoin for a bit until we get to 0.03515. And that's where the 200-day moving average is. That stopped us dead at the beginning of January. And so we may struggle there and turn back lower again. That's kind of key resistance. If we squeak a little bit higher, then 0.03764 is also resistance. But if we get above 0.3764, I think we're in a new upswing. So this will be A, B, C. And then we could do the same again, measure from these lows to the highs, like this. So 0.04036, Litecoin, Bitcoin, but then big picture, if we get up there, we're looking at the big 236 Fib retrace from the all-time highs and an equal measured move. And that's going to take us to between 0.0468 and 0.0479, ideally. Okay, so that's Ethereum, Bitcoin. For now, even though we are struggling with this resistance, I think that ETH is set to outperform Bitcoin for a little bit longer, and these altcoins should continue to do well for a little bit longer. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is Ripple, then ICX. Now Ripple, if we look at Ripple Bitcoin, you know, whenever you, this is an hourly chart, let's start with the daily and see where we are, because some people have said, oh, is this a head and shoulders pattern? Is this a bearish head and shoulders pattern in Ripple here on the daily? This is Ripple against Bitcoin. I'm not a big fan, I have to say, of sloping head and shoulders patterns like this. And if I do like a sloping one, then I like it to slope the other way, so that we're grinding a little bit higher and it's obvious when you break down. With these ones, I tend to find that you just kind of get to the bottom of the line and go a little bit beyond it, and then, you know, that's it. Think the correction's over. So no, this is not a head and shoulders pattern. However, it is a sideways range that we've been in for some time, and I think potentially we're building a much bigger inverted head and shoulders pattern here, but only if we turn higher pretty soon, because otherwise we kind of lose symmetry. You know, the best head and shoulders patterns have symmetry. So if this is just a correction in Ripple, and this was our first leg lower in a big ABC, and we've gone ABC up, or where is this next leg lower going to end up in Ripple Bitcoin? Well, if we measure from here like this, back to the 200-day, I think, and 7,200. Now we're losing this horizontal support. So Ripple's about to underperform Bitcoin for a bit, I think, back to 7,200. Now if let's get rid of all of these. And we'll just measure it this way and see where we're at. Wrong way around. Don't know how that, okay. From there. See if some of these fib rules will help, because this is a double top really at the 7/8 from this low to this high. This is a double top really at a 786 fib with a kind of swing failure pattern, isn't it? And so when you reverse at a 786 fib, just like Bitcoin going the other way, your target is a 382, which is down here, minimum. And let's see how that then lines up with this ABC that we're measuring. Might not line up at all. It does line up. So there is our no-brainer buy zone, for me anyway, down here in Ripple Bitcoin. Between 6,900 and 7,150. I think that's where we're headed. So let's take a look at Ripple dollar, because underperforming Bitcoin doesn't necessarily, if Bitcoin has a massive rally, it doesn't mean that you'll necessarily lose a ton of money. It just means you might be better in Bitcoin. So, yeah, this is what I mean. This one doesn't look quite so bearish, but let's have a tidy up here, because we're really in a declining wedge in this one as well. if we bring this down here like this, shorter term, we're in a bigger declining wedge, a smaller declining wedge within a bigger one. Potentially, this might have been a little bit of breakout here. And this is what I mean by we could go up in Ripple dollar, but still underperform against Ripple. But at the moment, no breakout at all. And in fact, on this 4-hour down here, I'm going to say this looks more like a pennant. And in fact, a pennant in a downtrend most often breaks with the trend, which would be lower for Ripple dollar. So I haven't got any reason to buy this one yet. Doesn't mean I hate it or I don't like it. It just means it's got a bit further to fall. And in Ripple dollar, the breakout confirmation will be, this is a 4-hour, this 4-hour 200 moving average, this trend line here. I think if we get back above 0.3196, then up we go. So that's Ripple dollar still on the back foot. Is there a Gartley pattern in Ripple? Potentially. If there's a Gartley, you mean, I think you mean short term, isn't it? Because this first swing was from the 618 like this. And if there is a Gartley pattern, then our support would be around 29.84. So we can tighten this into the closes and say that if there is, then this is where it'll be. And the best Gartley patterns have kind of fib relations between the legs. So these don't quite, but let's... Yeah, so you would have potentially a Gartley pattern down here and the third touch of this trend line. I'm a big fan of third touches being false breaks. In other words, and the best scalper I ever sat and watched a trade that I watched trade, his favourite setup was third touches of trend lines, because he always expected a false break and then expected the market to stay within the trend line. So potentially a Gartley pattern down there, yes. Okay, so that's Ripple. I'm afraid Ripple's still headed lower. Let's get a move on here. So ICX. I can't believe nobody asked me about ADA. I'm actually long a little bit of ADA because I think ADA's quite interesting for a higher low. I'd like to see a big fat bottoming pattern here, and above 1378 would be a massive bullish reversal for ADA. So I think hopefully this will be a little bit of a right shoulder forming. We'll see. I might be completely wrong, but I think it's got a good look. So we'll cover ADA in the week next time. So the next one we're going to look at is ICX. Hi, Ryan. Let's see if I can do Pundy at the end. Pundy's been behaving pretty nicely, hasn't it? I just got so many to look at tonight. I don't know if I'll have time. So Icon. Trying to bounce off. And this is such a good level, isn't it? These previous lows. And if we put our... the problem is that if I put regular candles on, you can see we closed at a new low, which you don't always want to see. It's not quite the same bullish... it's not quite the same bullish... false breakdown, if you like. However, the week after we did close underneath these new lows in ICX, we made a pattern called a bullish piercing line pattern. That's in Japanese candlesticks. It's as good as a bullish engulfing. So when you make a new low and then you come all the way back and you close more than 50% of the previous down candle, that is a very strong bullish piercing line pattern reversal candle. So we have really held the lows based on that. I think if we take it as a monthly, you know, we kind of have held the lows as well. And so I'm looking for some follow through to the upside here, and we'll call this a messy retest, if you like. And so really, if that's the case, then we should be looking back to these prior highs in ICX and see what happens there. If I zoom out, we've also got resistance from the August lows around 772. So maybe. I think, you know, most corrections are 3 waves. So, you know, this is like this 3 waves down. So we should see one up, a pullback, and then one more swing. Depending on how far we pull back, we can measure from where we get to in this 677, but 734 would be the bearish resistance because that's where we've got our equal measured move. I like this a lot. I would buy this on a break above the daily 50 moving average and see how far the follow through takes you. If it takes you beyond those highs, beyond these resistance and up to the 200, then you've got a decent reversal. So it's still a downtrend at the moment. It's stopped going down and it's going sideways. And if we break the top of the range, then I think ICX will be very interesting big picture. So yeah, above 630 then, I think you could add to this position. If you take a look at it on a 4-hour, see how we're consolidating. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. In fact, for me, this would be a 4-hour sort of buy here. I like this above the 200 moving average. Momentum's with you, should rally from here in ICX. Black screen next time would be ace, dark screens. Okay, sorry. Can't please everyone. And you realise, you know, I can't see very well, so I need the white screen so I can see. Okay, so Warvares is next. Waves. Let's see if we can find some waves. We can't. Where has it gone? Waves. Now this is a lovely. This is a lovely, for me, correction. So we have a big 5 waves up here, I think, in January. So from the low that we made on the 18th of January, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we've had this huge, volatile, big ABC correction. I'm all ready for another leg higher that takes us to new highs in waves. I think that we're all set for either way for the resistance back at 88.78. I love how we've smashed through the 200-day and the daily moving averages yesterday, and these should be support now. We shouldn't come back below 75.47 in waves Bitcoin, and we should continue higher from here. Whichever way you draw it, it's like, you know, this was a lovely breakout yesterday from this channel that we were in, like this, declining wedge, like this, and a lovely breakout. So is BTT is trying to break out, is it? Okay, we'll take a look at that one. It's on the list, don't worry. So waves Bitcoin, ABC. So if this was our first swing higher, like this, can't look at everything, that's my problem. Now, if we made a marginal new high here at 9,000, 9,060 and failed and came all the way back, that would be a bearish move for waves. It would mean that we've just made a big ABC going the other way. So mark that 9,060 level and watch out that we don't fail, make a false break to new highs and fail there. If we keep going, then happy days. Our next fib retrace level, because we've bounced so smartly off this 382, it kind of validates the levels. So would be 9,490. I don't know why it's gone so blurry. 10,100, and then go away. Who can even see this? There it goes. That's better. 10,172, and then 11,000. I really do like this 11,000 for a target here in waves Bitcoin on the next swing higher. So looking really good for me. I think this pullback correction is over, and we're on our next leg up in waves Bitcoin. If I zoom out, this is why that we like this 11,000 level for a retest next, and it comes from way back in December 2017. These highs here, this is what we couldn't get above and close above when we tested it before at 11,000. So if we can break 11,000, happy days. I would say 15,000 projected from this target next. Okay, so lovely double bottom on our way up in Warvez. Buy pullbacks. So buy pullbacks. 7,500 if we get a short-term pullback, if you're looking for a short-term entry. So that's Warvez, BCH, Bitcoin Cash, somebody asked for. They didn't ask for Bitcoin Cash SV. Whenever you see a shape like this, okay, and whenever you see holding underneath moving averages, it's never, unfortunately, bullish. Its price is struggling to rally. It's choppy. It's going sideways. We've double topped. If we put fib retraces from the lows in December to the highs in January, we tried to hold the 618, and then the last couple of days it's been resistance. I trust these fib levels because the other ones have all been respected. So I would say that the next support is this 786 down here. And that's at 0.03056. So that's where I'd be looking for Bitcoin Cash to find support next. If this trendline support breaks down, it looks to me like it's rolling over. So headed lower. If I wanted to be bullish in Bitcoin Cash ABC, I would only, it needs to break these highs now, really, and get back above this 618 level. So 0.03615. If it did that, then it would be looking a bit better, let's put it that way. Okay, so if you wanted to know about Bitcoin Cash SV, I know you didn't ask, but we've got remarkably kind of similar patterns going on. Couldn't hold this 618 again on the daily and its resistance, and so we've got further to fall in this Bitcoin Cash SV down to the 786 fib. It's at 0.0144, so both of them headed lower at the moment. It's not quite the same bearish pattern in Bitcoin Cash SV, but that kind of thing, for a while they would be going opposite directions. So if Bitcoin Cash ABC was going up, this one would be going down, and vice versa. They've kind of stopped that now, and they seem to be falling together. So not such good news for Bitcoin Cash, still headed lower. Next one we're going to look at is Stratus, which is on the move apparently. So, some good news in Stratus. First off, this is Stratus against Bitcoin. We can look at it against the dollar. But the good news about this is, especially if it's going sideways, if you're in a coin and you look at the rally in Bitcoin and you look at another coin and it's priced against Bitcoin and it hasn't gone anywhere, it's gone sideways. If the value of Bitcoin has gone up, then the value of whatever you were in that's trading against Bitcoin sideways has also gone up. So I wouldn't worry about that. So we've pulled back to our ideal support level in Stratus. Now we need to see if we can rally and get above these moving averages and get out of this sideways range that we're in. If we take a look at our 4-hour chart, it doesn't kind of add much weight to it, does it? But we'll call this the range highs because we've got a double bottom. So this is the high in the middle that we have to make, isn't it? 25,000. And then if I'm not quite sure of the level, I will usually put the 236 fib on from the highs like this and see where that comes in, because if we get above that, then that's like very good confirmation that we've reversed. And that's a little bit higher at 25,956 in Stratus. So if we break clear of this zone, up we go. But until then, yeah, it's just not convincing. It's kind of wallowing sideways, isn't it? It's tried a little move tonight. And you know, within these ranges, you can buy the bottom of the range and wait till it gets to the top of the range and see what happens there. And then if we have a bit of jostling, you're in with a bit of a cushion. Just make sure that when you do that, you use a stop. And if we break underneath here, you get out. You know, I see far too many people trade a really good idea, and then when it doesn't work, they just kind of say, oh, well, I'll put it in my bottom drawer and wait till it rallies again. You know, those days are gone. We're not in a bull market anymore. Hopefully we're about to go back into one. But until we are, you know, those kind of keeping bags of stuff that's not working and not looking at it doesn't work. So, so Stratus, above 25,000, Stratus Bitcoin is what I want to see. The next one we're going to look at is TRX. I kind of feel like TRX is in a bit of a bigger correction. So then we're going to start with the daily. So we had a beautiful run up. Let's put it beautiful run up in TRX. And this was potential support from these prior highs. So if this is a wave one, it's very hard to count this one. Sometimes, and you see this a lot in commodities, they'll all look like ABC. So they'll look like 3 waves up and then 3 waves down, even in really big swings. And so in this instance, it kind of looks a bit like that here. So big 3 waves up, and now we're going to see a big 3 waves back. And if that's the case, and this is our first swing, then this price here where we are, 691, was where we should really hold if we're going to do 618. But if we're not, and we're going to do a bigger correction and a big fat ABC, then 589 is where we come back to. And line up some Fib retraces. Yeah, and potentially, you know, 50% back is just underneath here. So I would make this a little bit of a zone. Between 570 and 590 then becomes a bit of a zone for Tron if we break this daily 200 moving average. Now sometimes, no, yeah, that's how I would look for this. So further to fall. Now, sometimes we got it wrong. So this might have been the whole correction and we can't quite see it. And if that's the case, then we'll just do a little ABC and carry on higher here. Or, you know, when you see big ABCs and small ABCs, you can see that within them. So potentially, especially having done a measured move from this high and this 50, we could see a bit of a rally in here. But I wouldn't, it's not a rally I would buy. I still think that we'll see, I still think that we'll hit resistance and are lining up one more sort of potentially leg lower in Tron. So yeah, I think it's time to sit on your hands. This doesn't mean that it's not a great project, and it doesn't mean that, you know, any of those things. I just think that from this spectacular rally that it's had, that 50% back around 573 might just be a better place to get in. So if you're holding it, if you lose this 200 moving average, this 50-day moving average here at 664, I would dump it and buy it 100 cheaper. Okay. Okay. So the next, I'll see if I can squeeze AGI on the end. Don't worry, I'll race through as quick as I can. So next one we're going to look at, which has had a bit of a run, is Metal MTL. This is like an old school coin that's been around forever. So let's see what's going on with Metal. And should we be paying attention? Well, we should always be paying attention. But right now, is this a great place to buy Metal? Not quite, unfortunately. This 903 level, let's take this away for a minute and just look at support and resistance from here across here like this. Let's So from this spike low, these three highs here, this high, so around 900, sort of 920 is pretty tough resistance. Add into that the 200-day moving average, and metals at pretty tough resistance. So if you were going to buy it and this was going to be a bottom, it kind of needs to do a little bit more. So put those fibs back on. But short term, I'd be watching these highs that we made today and this level. And if we can get above it and above that 200 moving average, then happy days. And by that, I would mean I would want to see an hourly close above it, and then a pullback and retest to hold it, and then I would be a buyer in metal. So yeah, looks really good. If you bought it tentatively off the lows, then this back to the 200-day would be your first target. So we're at that target. We're at a place where other people are taking profit. So let's just see how far back we come and if we can get back above that level. Then, so yeah, nearly. Really good volume. Look at this volume. Really good volume in metal. I'm going to just quickly zoom out to the weekly in this one, because we just want to talk about, we're going to take just the last swing lower, and that's the obvious swing. So we go from here to here for our fib targets like this, and our first fib target, if we can break out of this bottoming range, will be 2136, where the weekly 50 moving average is. Okay, 2136 then, if we can break out in metal. Next one we're going to look at is VAT, VET, VeChain. This one was so much fun when it was going up. Bring back the good days. This one really was a wild one. So I think, you know, we could call it head and shoulders. We can call it a rectangle, whatever. This is a pretty good base that we're building here in VeChain on the daily. We've been building it since November. Unfortunately, put my alarm on the top here and we never quite come back to it. Short term, are we in an upswing in VeChain against Bitcoin? I have to say, it doesn't have the look of it. It has a bit of a look of a bear flag, and like we're about to break down. So there it is on the 4-hour, holding underneath this 4-hour 200 moving average and an ABC. So I would, if you're in it and you don't want it to come back to the bottom and retest 102, then I don't know, at this point you're so close, it's, you know, you might as well hang on and wait for it. But no trend in VeChain. Really good support, but no trend. Look for a retest of 100 to hold, or a higher low, and a break then above 128 would be a buy for me. Or just the next turn. If we could, this is how I trade. This is how I would do it. From this high to wherever we bottom and we look like we're turning up, I would put the fibs on like this. And if we go back above that 236 fib, for me, a close above it, that's my buy. So from here, it's 111. If we go down and test these lows and then bounce, then back above 108 for me would be it, because it doesn't tend to close above that 236 fib unless it's really turned around and it's going to keep going. So not an entry here at the moment in VeChain. Zilliqa is next. Now, Zilliqa. We should mention Komodo while we're here, shouldn't we? So, sadly, this one is not doing... I was looking for us to hold, if we could, this... I was looking for us to hold, if we could, this 61.8 level. That little doji... It's not really a hammer because it's too small. It's just a doji. Said, ooh, maybe we're going to hold the 618 fib in Zilliqa, which would have meant a return up here to these 382 levels. But at the moment, we haven't actually broken down. It's just an inside day. But if we do break down, then no, it hasn't stopped. We've going down to the next floor, if you like. And so the next floor from here is 416, which is the 786. So, yeah. When you get an inside day like this, really we need to break the highs of this little doji and start going the other way. So not at the moment, unfortunately, for Zilliqa against Bitcoin. Does it mean that you're losing a ton of money in US dollar? Not if Bitcoin is going up, but it just means that you're better probably in Bitcoin. If we can rally, so if we can break above 480 tomorrow without breaking down, or if we break down and then recover very quickly in a kind of false breakdown, we could top and tail this little inside bar, couldn't we? Or if we double bottom here, then above 480, we've got our 618 reversal, and up we go. Target would be 548, but only if we can do that. Hello, Contessa. Good morning. EOS. Trapped. EOS is trapped. Trapped at this 200-day moving average. Yeah, so made a new high, which is quite positive, but this 200 moving average is pretty key. This is another one. Maybe it's a 786 reversal, or maybe people are trading EOS against the dollar, not Bitcoin, and I should take a look at that chart next. If this is going to be a reversal, firstly, we're going to get above that daily 200 moving average in EOS Bitcoin, and we should really kind of go more than 50%, or between 50 and 61.8. We should go beyond that from this most recent swing high. And you can see here, this is from this most recent leg lower, the 618. So maybe we see a pullback, bottom of these lows again and try again, but against Bitcoin, major resistance. Now, you can either, so the last 2 days we've been here, so either we break above this resistance, and here it is, our double top level, and we're looking at it on an hourly. Now, if we break above and hold above, happy days. You've bought it against the 200-day moving average. But if we don't and we reverse here, so, you know, that would be a good long entry. But if we don't and we reverse here, then we'll be looking back towards 6,500. Okay, EOS US dollar. EOS dollar. So this is what I meant by trapped. I don't know what I meant. Trapped by sort of sideways range. In terms of fib levels, it looks pretty good. If we draw this as a flag pattern, have we broken out? If I connect those highs, maybe not quite yet. And if I take this retrace levels away and we look back at the fibs that we got underneath this old 886 and this old spike low in EOS, this spike low here is what our resistance is that's stopping us. Don't know if you can see that, but that comes from December 2017. So 3, the big round number 3 in EOS US dollar is major resistance. So even if we do kind of break out of this flag pattern, that big level 3 is really what we've got to get above if we're going to make another leg higher in EOS dollar. Jaswinder says the EOS 100 is about to cross the 200 on the 4 hour. Okay, let's take a look at the 4 hour and see. Yeah, you know, there's lots to like about this, and I like how these moving averages have crossed above the 200. I like the shape of this base. You know, we spent most of January making a pretty good base here in EOS dollar. It's just, yeah, this is such major resistance. That's all. So, yeah, I'll just draw that again. Okay. I stick that on the 1 in the middle, you can see that we're right there. So we're so close to a breakout higher in EOS dollar, just not quite there yet. And it's almost worth, you know, letting it go, letting it see if it break out and if it can close above 3, and then that would be your long entry. Okay. Apisem says QTUM and IOST have head and shoulders patterns. Do they? QTUM. Inverted head and shoulders patterns, yes, if we can rally here. And IOST, I agree. This is the daily chart of QTUM. And yeah, and we're actually doing kind of a rounded retest of the lows from December 2017, aren't we? I agree. If they hold, let's see if they can hold. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is ADX. This is, there's a lot to like about ADX. So first off, the confirmation that we're going higher. Remember, most recent swing, 50% level, that kind of 50% back is always a really good marker of when you've turned it around. So in ADX, from the spike we made on the 1st of December to the low that we made on the 7th of December, we've been trading in that range ever since. Okay, it was just 1 week. Okay, Phil, thank you. So back and forward, building a base, hopefully in ADX. These fib levels from this high to this low have been pretty accurate support and resistance. If we do this, we can see that the 236 fib here was resistance, resistance, resistance. And then when we got above it yesterday, it was support. Happy days. So now this is where our support is. As long as we stay above 2,900, should look to go higher here. And then if we do this again, you can see that this 382 fib is now, move it all the way back here. Look, resistance, resistance, resistance. So if we get above 3,250, we will go to 3,500, and above 3,500, this is this block that we've been in the whole time. Then I think we're on our way back to the highs, 4,500, and the 1.618 target, ambitious, is 6,050. If we're just going to do the bearish measured move thing, it won't be that high. It'll just be like this, more like 5,240. I'm going to set my heart, though, for 6,050. Let me just put in the 1272, because that'll be where we go. 5262. So a break above 3,500 in ADX should take us to at least 5,260. But this is the kind of sideways range we're in. So now we've marked them with our little red lines. Here we can see, we can take away all these extra lines. There we go. We just need to break above 3,230. So try and buy it when it's moving your way. Okay. QTUM is missing volume. I know. I'm not sure QTUM is quite ready. It seems to be before, you know, when well, there's ones kind of QTUM, IOTA, UBQ, OMG, they all seem to move together, and they were like second tier. So Bitcoin would move first, and then the big alts would follow, and then they were like the next tier that would kind of follow on after that, I found in prior rallies. So we're going to look at XTZ next. Sorry, I'm a bit slow tonight. Now, I'm not sure who asked for this one. Just clearly around 10,100. Somebody keeps buying it here. And let's look and see if we got any kind of a pattern, maybe a Gartley pattern, something like that, because that would add weight. And I think it is a little bit of a Gartley pattern here at 10,000. So could we rally off it? Maybe. But when we do, you know, These are the lows. This is the retest and our double bottom. And if we're going to break the double bottom on the daily here in XTZ, then that's at 11,500. So until then, we're kind of in a sideways range. That's our confirmation level that we're going higher, 11,500. Another way you could look for confirmation is 236 going the other way. We could then say, okay, 11,168, move it down a little bit. So above 11,168, close, daily close, we can get excited. So potentially we can make a base here at 10,000. If this was our first swing up, this is our pullback, then our target for this next swing higher is up here. I've got it marked at 16,400. But we really just need to get above 11,160. Why don't I use volume? I suppose because I started life as an FX trader. And in FX, the volume is only representative. You can't see all the volume because so much of it is over the counter. So I kind of like volume as a representative kind of thing. So, but it's not reliable. And you could see massive, there could be massive volume at other exchanges that you can't see. It's not, much of Bitcoin is sold, let's be honest, over the counter as well. So, Gary Stewart, if you don't like my opinion, please, you're welcome to leave. I'm a trend trader. All I'm trying to do is help people spot the trend and when it turns. That's all. I think that most good technical analysis comes out to the same place. Doesn't matter what method you use. So it's just a risk management tool, Okay, so that's XTZ. ZEC is next. I agree that volume is very useful, and sometimes I do look at it, but not like if you're trading futures or in a futures market and you see everything that's traded in that market, then you can use really cool tools like volume profile and stuff, because you can see everything. So you know what price people bought at, you know what price people are going to be in pain at, and you know where all the volume is, and you know there isn't any. And so it is really helpful if you can see it all. But if you cannot see it all, then I think sometimes you start to rely on it, then I think sometimes it all gets a bit of a problem. Okay, so I'm going to hide this Zcash. So this Zcash looks brilliant, doesn't it? Absolutely lovely. So when we put our Fibs on, and I know I rely on Fibs a lot, but I do. When we put our Fibs on, the 236 Fib, the first Fib retrace from this high on the 24th of December to the low on the 6th of February is here at 151.25 in ZEC US dollar. That's what we've got to get above to continue higher, 51.25. And we've got two big, we've got a lovely shooting star reversal candle here. So if we get above that and we trip it above that high, there will be some FOMO and people will follow this one up. Okay, this looks like a declining wedge to me, and I think it's got a lot of potential. So close above 51.25 in ZEC US dollar would be bullish, and in ZEC Bitcoin, should we do Binance or Bitpress? I never know without looking which one has the best history. I never know when I look at this one if you count the spike or not either. So big picture. So when I draw Fibs on for those retraces, I take the whole big swing or I take the most recent swing. I don't ever pick random things in the middle like this and go from here to here. So that's the kind of rule I apply. We take the whole one or we take the most recent one. And sometimes when you make a big ABC equal measured move, you put it over both. So here we would put it over both, And we would say if we ever broke out of this downtrend, our first target we'd be looking for is 23,600. But short term, we're going to look at this swing from this high to low, like this. And we're going to say the 236 fib from this swing will confirm we're going higher. So far, we've got a little bit of a look of a bottom, but these daily moving averages are still pointed down. You know, in Zcash, it could just as easily get up here to this 50 and then drop down again just as fast. So I'd like to see a bit more. So that would mean well, we can go step by step, can't we? Because this year, from the first of this year, we've never managed to close above this 20 moving average. So if we close above it today, then we're probably on track for the 50 moving average next. So, and the 20 will be support. So we can draw that in. And so if we close where we are now, then 14,000 support. And then our next target is this daily 50 here. And instead of doing this big swing, we'll do this. And the small one like this. Because then it kind of lines up a bit better. There we go. So the short term 236, again, just the most recent swing lower. So 14,000 is our support and 14,700 is our first major resistance, daily 50, which is 50% of this swing. If we're going to stay in the downtrend, we'll probably fail there. And if we get above it, then happy days. You can buy against this level because we should continue higher to the 200-day moving average around 18,500. Is it harder, easier to trade crypto than FX? It's much, much more rewarding to trade crypto than FX because it's so much more volatile. In fact, I would say that the last couple of months, volatility has died in FX. It's been very, very difficult. And I don't think you know how lucky you are to have this volatility in crypto. It's amazing. So they do trade a bit like penny stocks. So they'll fall a long way and they'll spend a long time going sideways and then explode. And so you kind of have to have really good mechanisms for watching for the reversal of the explosion of breakouts from sideways ranges. But no, very much, much more rewarding. So I would say more profitable. And, you know, traders love volatility. If the market doesn't move, nobody makes any money. It's a double-edged sword, but that's kind of what you want, really. You want volatility. So, you know, even though we think Bitcoin's been shockingly awful, and it has been, you know, volatility is very low relatively for crypto. It's still much better than FX. So here's Chainlink on the daily. I'm going to tidy up this chart and take everything off and we'll take a look at what's going on. So I kind of like this as a big wave 1 and a big wave 2 and maybe this is a wave 3. One of the good ways of telling if that's happened is wave 3 is very often 1.618 of wave 1. We didn't quite get there with Link, but it was quite close. If that's the case and this is a big wave 3, then the most common retrace level is 38.2. And 38.2 is where I've got my line, I think. It's where we've already come back to. And if we go beyond that, then the 50 sometimes. Now, are we going to rally from here? I have to say, again, when you look at the shape of this price action, this choppy, overlapping, struggling to go higher, this is not bullish yet. So we're going to retest our 382 fib level, probably. 10,634. And let's see if we can make a blow or a double bottom or something like that. If we don't, and if we close below 10,634, 9,038 is next. Really good, 50% back. Previous support and resistance look high, high, low. Great, great level, 9,038 to buy if it breaks. But at the moment, still in a downtrend. that moment when you realise you're charting on pillar. I know, isn't that funny? More fun, more dangerous. It is more dangerous. Now, in this Chainlink, I kind of think that we'll, you know, when your moving averages go flat and sideways, it becomes a trading range. If there's, you know, it's always good to avoid it when it's choppy and going sideways. And one of the best indicators for that is when your moving averages go flat. So we've kind of got a sideways range really going on here in Link. So I wait for a retest of the lows. And if worse comes to the worst and you can't watch this for a bit, put an alarm on these highs. Because if it takes off one day, then you'll catch it going the other way. I did do F. I like the look of F. Jakob. Okay. So, Link, sideways in a correction, still in a pullback, not ready to buy that one yet either. Sorry. XZC is on the same. Where are we going? XZC. Here we go, Zcoin. So this is why I had this one on a 15-minute chart. Okay, because we keep, every time we drop down to this 13,000 level, is it no, 130,000 level, in Zcoin, Bitcoin, we bounce. We've been doing it since November. So it's pretty good support and very reliable support. And then we have this big green candle. See this candle, this shape here, this inverted hammer? That's a very bullish pattern when you see that. So here are the highs. I'm looking for this one to break out here and get going, you know, above this 50 moving average and a base. We should at least get back up here to the 200-day moving average and 156,000. So, and hopefully the top of the range up here. But at the moment, we're stuck. And I was watching this one yesterday just to see if I used Heikin-Ashi candles. And I just wanted to see if we could break these highs. And we haven't done. Damn. So all day we've been not quite a breakout. So I'm going to put my alert there. And until we break out, nothing to do. But I think it's setting up in Zcoin. I definitely think it's setting up. But no breakout, no trade. So yeah, 14,000 is where we really want it. So close in at there, 14,000. Okay. Zcoin, double bottom, waiting for a breakout of the highs to confirm and a move higher and back to 155,000. Nick, ETH dollar was in a descending channel since August. Do you think it's correct to analyze this pair based on a channel? I definitely am a fan of channels, much more so than trend lines. So, oops, wrong ETH. So, yeah, I definitely do. And I particularly like parallel channels as well. So, yeah, I do think that's fine. For me, though, I'm not going to draw it now. I was struggling to draw your channel. I'd be interested to see your chart. So, okay. But yeah, so especially like Bitcoin here, this is a small time channel. As soon as you've got two touches on either side, you've got a channel, I think. Okay. So next we're going to look at is Storm. Are you waiting to buy this one? I love the level we're sitting at. The problem is, okay, we're still in a downtrend and we're going sideways. And when you go sideways and your moving averages go flat the way we have here in Storm, there's no edge or trend. If you break the lows, you're still going down. And if you break the highs, then you've turned it around. So we've used, the way I've drawn this is from this low to this high. This is the 1272 fib extension, okay? And we're sitting on it, 75. If we close below 75, The next stop is 51. That is 33% you're going to give back in Storm. So if you're hodling it, get out if it closes below 75. And if it closes above 95, buy more, because we will head to 112 next. Okay, so sideways range. Now, I think it's quite low risk to buy against the bottom of ranges like this, but beware that sometimes the market likes to have a really good look underneath, but where we close is really kind of important. So if we have a really good look underneath and come all the way back again, we haven't broken down. But that's the sideways range in Storm. No trend, no reversal yet. Okay, next one we're going to look at is ONT. Ontology. I had such high hopes for this coin. And, you know, when we look at it down here, it's really, yeah, I think it must have just got overpriced, right? That's what we're going to tell ourselves. Just got a bit ahead of ourselves. So again, this is another one where we're watching for a bottoming pattern, and really, this is a sideways range. We should just call that, except in this case, I think we can draw it as a wedge. We've got a solid bottom and a wedge, and a breakout from our wedge to the upside would be above the daily 50 moving average, and we'd be looking for, first instance, another swing higher relative to the first one. So we measure the first one like this, 1876 and maybe 2120. It's not very exciting, is it? When you do that, if we stopped at that 1876, I would then draw this as a wider wedge, or I'd probably get rid of this trend line like this. Now, another way to draw that, to do targets is, if it is a proper triangle or a wedge like this, then you take the widest point of the swing, okay, which is here, from this high to this low. That's the widest entry point of this wedge, and you project that from the breakout level. So if we do that here, we end up with the same thing, don't we? It still ends up at 2120. So if we break out from this wedge, our target is 2120 in Ontology Bitcoin, and the breakout level is going to be above 1637. This is one of those ones where I like to watch on a lower time frame and make sure that I've drawn it. I tend to like to draw these trend lines with a fat pen, if you like, and give it a bit of room and look for some other confirming factors. So I would say this 4-hour 200 moving average, which is also a bit of a pivot level. These highs, these lows, let's say above 1630 would be a breakout. And sometimes I like to do this on a 15 minute, so we've said 1630. So I would want to see this on a 15 minute. If I'm trading and watching it, what else have you got to do, right? I would buy it like that, okay? If I was trading it on as a daily candle, I probably wouldn't, because of this daily 50, just put a buy stop above it. I would probably wait, and the first daily close above that daily 50, I would buy with a stop underneath the candle that crossed through that 50 moving average. Okay, so that's hi Jakob. I will try and do Pundy at the end as well. Yeah, I'll try and do Pundy, MPXS, don't worry. I'm sure the Daleks will get it. Okay, so we've done Storm, Ontology, we've done Ontology. We're looking for a breakout from this wedge, another swing higher. 2120 is our first target. And if we go beyond 2120, up to sort of 24,000 and that 200 moving average, let's put Fibs on the most recent swing lower. So that's from this high in August to this low in December. So we said 2120, didn't we, in the Fibs at 2064. So they're kind of in the same place, really. That's going to be our target. And if we break higher, 25,000 and then 2860. Happy days. So that's Ontology. Next one we're going to look at is KNC. Kyber Network. I love this one. I'm quite bullish. First off, I like how we had a bullish close above the 50 moving average. Now, anytime you see a big thrust candle like this big green candle here, you kind of look for it pullbacks to stay in the top 50% of this. And if we stay in the top 50% of this from this low to the high, I kind of think that's a bullish pullback, and I call that a Maribosu line, and I look for it to carry on higher. I'm looking at other instances in this one where we tried it and then carried on lower. We were going down 50% of this big red candle, and then it carried on lower, and the same here. So I'm going to say that so far, to be honest, KNC has been a bit disappointing and pulled back a little bit further than I wanted it to. And so it really does need to not come back any further. And if you're still holding some, get your stop under the low, because any further than this or back underneath this 4-hour 200 moving average, more than 50% of that daily candle, and I'm going to say it's not really working. Now, the good news is, that's not really good news. It's come back too far to be good news, unfortunately. So back on the daily, I think back above this daily 50 moving average again, after a little inside day, that would be where you want to buy. So wait and see where today closes, okay? And then put your, as an inside bar, put your stop underneath this low, not right up against it because they'll come on top and tell you, but just underneath, and then put a buy order above these closes. So 3,910, somewhere like that. That would be a good long entry. And then if it's going to go and follow through to the upside, that should work. But if we come back more than 50%, then I'm afraid it's game over. Let's put fibs from these lows. Yeah, you don't really want it much more than that 61.8 support where we're sitting right now. 37.50. Trying to make a bottom. Not quite clear yet in Kyber network. Gas is at 19. So let's see what's going on with gas. Now, on the daily, this has got a good look. Lower high, double bottom here. Are we ready to rally, make a new swing higher? That's the key question. When it's not clear like this, I really do think that that 50% rule comes into its own, because this was the high, 50% from this high to low here. So 49.89. That's where we're going to hit trouble if you buy it. So by all means buy it here. We're turning up. It does look good. It's just going green. If we can close above this daily 50 moving average, which we've done today, it looks good to keep going higher. But you're only going to be out of the woods above 65,000, which is the 50% of the pullback drop. So look for 65,000. If we go beyond it, then we're going back to the highs and the 200 moving average, and we've got a trend reversal going on. But 65,000 could be a little bit of trouble. So, and if we are going to rally today, because we've closed from this high to low, because we've closed above the daily 50 moving average and this 236 Fib, if you buy it, we should not close back below this level at 58.915. That's where we're wrong. So that means if you go down to a low time frame like a 15-minute or an hourly, you're looking for pullbacks against those levels to buy and hold, and you're looking for them to hold on a retest. In fact, it looks like we've already done it, doesn't it? This is what I mean by make the levels prove themselves. So here, this is a 5-minute chart of gas. So we've gone A, B, C back, retested this level perfectly, and now we've turned higher again. So this is what I mean about when you're waiting and it breaks above the level, if you watch for that, then that's what you want to see to prove that it's holding the level and it's going to carry on higher. So gas Bitcoin is holding the level and should carry on higher. 62,274 next, and then the top of the range at 65,000. Okay, so far so good for gas Bitcoin. IOST is next. IOST. So look at this lovely move and the 200 moving average here. So we're going to do the big swing because we want our big target like this. So 283 is our big target. And then here we are at the 200 days, seeing if we can break above it. Put regular candles on and ta-da, we've closed above it. So first day, knock back, 4 days underneath the 200 moving average, and up we go. We've done it today. We made a new high, but we haven't quite closed at a new high. The real problem in this one, though, is going to be a little bit higher, and that's these prior highs. If you consider when we were in a downtrend, this was the last lower high. This in the down sequence, then this high is really kind of what we need to get above to reverse the trend. So just above 200. But I think this 200 moving average looks great. This trading today is great. So let's see if we can hold above it. So 183, I mean, it's such a little bit lower, isn't it? Let's see where we are. There it is. Right, so there is our 200 moving average. Let's move it to these highs. So if we're going to keep going higher, then on this pullback that we seem to be doing here in IOST, so if this was the first leg, if we make another leg lower, we shouldn't go back below 183, okay? ADA was at the beginning, sorry. But if it does and it comes back and retests that 200-day moving average and does that for you, happy days. That's your long entry in IOST, Internet of Services. So 200 resistance and then 283 target. Okay? No, nobody requested ADA. And I said, I can't understand why nobody's requested ADA because I think it looks really good off the lows here, and I bought a little bit of ADA. Was it? I can't remember if it was today or yesterday. But yes, I did. I am personally long a little bit of ADA. I'm watching here. Obviously, we're at a little bit of resistance, and we may have done 5 waves up, which is encouraging. So I'm waiting for a pullback, and then we carry on higher. This is a 382 fib from the high as well. So it's like a staircase. The way I use the fibs from this high to low, each level is like a staircase. So if we stall at the 382, I don't want it back below the 236 and vice versa. So, but yeah, no, I think ADA has a really good bottoming look. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. So I did IOS. So BNB, I talked about BNB today, earlier today in a video. I personally took profit. So I'm trading BNB against Bitcoin. So we'll look at BNB against Bitcoin, or I have been long BNB against Bitcoin. And when we look at this, prior highs are very often levels where you will see people take profit, their target on bullish reversals. They'll say, this is where, you know, we go back to. Very often at prior highs and lows, you will stall. And if we take a look at Binance Coin and how far and fast we got here, this is one of those levels where we could see a bit of a pullback. We're so stretched. The best indicator of overbought and oversold, you know, the RSI is over 80, but we're a very long way from these moving averages, and they're a little bit like rubber bands. So plus in this sequence on the way up, every other fib level was resistance. So I'm expecting a little bit of a pullback here. It might only be a day or two, but if we close above these prior highs, 26,555, then I'm back in again. Happy days, you know. So I'm watching it. Here on the hourly, we've had just kind of one swing, you know, and I'm going to apply the same rule. I think we'll do a bit of this and a bit of sideways, and then I'll get back in again if we break these highs. Okay, so I'm expecting some sideways trading in a bull market in BNB. So I took a bit of profit off. If it becomes a reversal that you don't want to be in anymore, let's take those fibs away for a minute. We'll go from these lows. Big picture, 23,468. Big picture below there is a major reversal. Short term, below 24,650, we're in a correction. Okay, so that would be, and that's no brainer, even if you don't use anything else, anybody can see these prior highs and lows, right? In BNB. Okay, that's the trend. As long as we stay above 24,650, these highs and lows, we're still in an uptrend. So in this zone, I think we'll do a bit of back and fill sideways and before we carry on higher again. So I'd be happy to buy BNB again. I'm particularly happy when I look at the BNB tether chart, because, so BNB tether, when I looked at this, yesterday, and I looked at these prior lows, this 236 fib level at 9.09, I thought, you know, we'll probably pause here and we'll come back and retest this 200 moving average. And in fact, I'm very happy to see that we went beyond this 236 fib and this big level, because now on a pullback, it should be support that we can buy against. So although I closed my BNB tether, if we make a big now there's two things we're going to do. We're either going to come back like this in a big ABC and retest this level, and that will be a nice long entry if we turn up from here. But if we come back a little bit lower and we come back to the 200 moving average, which I'm just going to mark, and do the same thing, I still think it's a great buy. I really do. And yeah, from this low, again, 8.44. Below 8.44, we're not going to buy. That's the 236 fib. We're not going to buy. We're going to leave BNB alone because it's in a bigger correction. So 8.44 would be our bull bear line. And, you know, no surprise. Look, here's our 236 fib. And when we look here on the hourly, you can see double top prior highs, prior lows. So that's a really good level, our bull bear line. So we're going to do that, or we're either going to, or this will be a bigger, it might end up being a bigger correction like this. But either way, I will buy the pullback in BNB because I like the setup. I just think it's got a bit overstretched and overdone, and it's due a correction. Ada, Mac, are you talking about are you talking about the divergence? We've got divergence here on the 4 hour here. This is what bearish divergence looks like. So you can see on my chart that we're making higher highs. And I'm just going to switch to regular candles. Okay, the RSI works on closes prices. So you connect the closes. We're making higher highs, but here on our RSI, we're making lower highs. This is a sign of bearish divergence and that the trend is running out of steam. So that was also a good indicator on the 4 hour in BNB that we were running out of steam. You can see some divergence on ADA. Oh, really? Okay, I might check that at the end. Okay, no worries. Okay, I'm going to carry on now. MFT. Mainframe. Ta-da! Okay, so whenever you see this look, this shape, this is a a rounded bottom, even if you can't within it see a head and shoulders pattern, and you usually can see one if you go looking for one, but you can see the shape. Now they only go so far, and then people will say, oh, waterfall, and they kind of tend to roll over. But I think within this pattern here, we do have a head and shoulders pattern. I think it looks like this. And okay, mainframe. So here is our left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Here's our breakout, and here is our retest that's successful. So we should, from here, carry on higher. And we're only wrong if we go back below 90. A daily close in mainframe below 90 is a bearish reversal, and we are looking for higher from here. Now we've got resistance coming up because we've got the next level and the 200-day moving average. And so that next level is the 200-day moving average is 106 and then 110. But if we're not quite sure, I rely on my fibs, I have to say. And I'm going to say we're fine in terms of fibs. And I think we're trading above this 236 fib level and should carry on higher here. The problem is corrections. Think to yourself 3 waves. So whenever you buy something, like for example, if you had bought this here and it didn't quite make a new high, corrections are very often 3 waves. The second leg of correction is very often in length 61.8 of the first one. So you have that ABC where it's smaller and then it breaks higher. So if you stay calm, and this is where people get chopped up so much because, okay, this is a good example. So we have a really nice pullback here and it goes green and you jump in. So say you buy mainframe around here, okay, and you put your stop here. And so we have this, but we don't make a new high and we come back. And then in your head, you're like all the demons and see, damn it, you knew it didn't work. I'm a really bad person, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to cut this trade. And then sure enough, it stops here and then carries on. If you just put a trade on it, each time you put a trade on, you say, okay, that's my risk. That's where I'm wrong. This trade's either going to work or it's going to stop me out. Then that would have worked fine. And that happens so many times. And it's very often, just say to yourself, 3 waves. Okay, sometimes it's 5 waves, but sometimes it's 3 waves. And it happens a lot. The first swing out doesn't quite work. So here we are. And we've got a bit of a pullback. And looky here, first swing didn't quite work. That 50% rule comes into work very handily here. Between 50 and 61.8 is where it very often stops. So now it looks like we've got 3 waves and it looks like a bit of a double bottom here on the hourly. So maybe mainframe will rally from here. Let's see if we go green and sort of break out of this consolidation. Not quite ready yet, my momentum says, but potentially. Average true range. Okay. The average true range tells you what the average daily range that a market moves. So let's put on a daily. And I tell you why it's quite useful. Because say that it told us in mainframe that the average true range in mainframe was 5. So 5 Bitcoin, 5 sat. Okay, and if you're looking to buy, say, mainframe, and it's already moved 8 sat that day, and you know that the average true range is only 5, I probably wouldn't take the trade because it's already gone quite a long way. I would wait for the next day and maybe try and use a pullback. That's how I tend to use average true range. Now other people use it when they buy pullbacks for targets. So when they've done the average true range for the day, they might close their position. That's how people use it. But the harmonic ATR, I don't know how that works. Sorry. I haven't heard of the harmonic ATR. Okay. Mainframe is done. Zen is next. So horizon as in horizon. So looking very good in mainframe. 108, 106, 108 next. Now, do you see how in Zen, all the way down, these daily moving averages have been really good resistance pretty much since we made the high at the beginning of November. If we're going to reverse this pattern, which we could do here, then first thing we're going to need to see is a close above this daily 50 moving average. We have a potential double bottom here in horizon, and if we get, that means that any break above these daily moving averages sends us back to the highs and the top of the range. So if we close above the daily 50 at 129,000, we're going to go to 145,600. Okay, that's the trade in this one. Beyond 50% would add a lot of weight. And we're not quite there yet. It's a little bit higher. So all I can say about Zen at the moment is it's stopped going down and we're going sideways. If we go above 128,000, then 145,600 would be our target. But at the moment, it's not clear. If we fail here and roll lower, we're still going lower. Okay? Yeah, sideways. Markets have three directions, don't they? Up, down, and sideways. This one's going sideways. Fuel is next. She said confidently, but let's there it is, Ether Party. I like the ticker to be related to the name, otherwise I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Honestly, there's so many of these altcoins that are going sideways. Here's the good thing. Here's the good news though about this. This is the same with Horizon. You know, if you're toe to toe with Bitcoin and going sideways with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has a massive rally, then the value of your horizon goes up the same amount as Bitcoin, especially if you're slightly outperforming Bitcoin, even better. So the same thing here, you know, Ether Party, we can say that, look, you know, the last few days we haven't done very much and we're going sideways, but Bitcoin's had a bit of a rally, and that means that in addition to what you've done here in Ether Party, or Fuel, then you've also gone up in value here. So we're sideways at the daily moving averages. I think it's a little bit of a let's do it this way. See, I've gone down to 4-hour moving averages because sometimes it's easier to see, have we broken out? Are we really going higher? Whenever I can't really draw a trend line and I'm not sure, I'm afraid I go back to Fibs and I say, okay, if we trade above the 236 Fib, then we're going up. And we probably look like we've done it here, don't we? It's very messy, isn't it? I probably won't buy, I wouldn't buy this one. And if I measure from this low to this high and I project it from here, it kind of look, it's got that measured move look. So what would I want to see do? I'd want to see us above that 200 moving average and then holding above it, or a little bit higher, break the highs, you know, just do a little bit more to convince me that it's going up and it's not just faffing around and gonna collapse on me in Fuel. So yeah, and here's our problem. When we look at these, look at this, just big doji. So it tricked everybody, it was going up and then it went all the way down, and yeah, I'm not convinced this is a breakout yet in this one. Now, if we break the highs of that spike, then yeah, that's what I'd like to see. And then I would have my stop under these moving averages. So you would buy around 227, your stop would be underneath sort of 217, and then you're looking for up here back to the 200 moving average and back to these highs. So just two directionalists really in fuel at the moment. Not quite. Another way to see is, you know, 50% of this most recent swing higher. Maybe that's where we stopped, if that was what the problem was. Yeah, that's kind of it as well, isn't it? So lots of resistance here. So not quite clear yet in fuel. Next one we're going to look at is flow, F-L-O. She said. I have to say this is not one I look at very often. So I'm intrigued to see what's going on here. Answer, not sure. So no. And this is another one where I hope we're building a big base. Okay, that would be very cool. So if this is, let's draw this highs, because this is the sticky level where we keep getting stuck. 27.20. So if this is a left shoulder and this is a big head, now we'd like to see a right shoulder and a lower high here. So let's look for this 200 moving average and these highs to hold, and that's around 912 on this pullback. So that's, or no lower than 912. So maybe an ABC measured move here, that would be bullish. We're kind of holding around it. So yeah, I want to see a lower high. I'm not tempted to buy this until this does that and starts turning higher. You know, these previous lows, it's a okay level, but not the right price action yet. An okay level to turn higher from, but need to see it starting to do that. Now the other thing is, this is a coin where we can probably be a bit patient, because if this is a head and shoulders patterns, the best ones have symmetry. And so the left and right shoulders are pretty similar size. So if this is how long, let's just measure it roughly. If this is how long the left shoulder took, then this is how long the right shoulder is going to take. And that says sometime in June. So, okay. How do I decide not to use a trend line and use Fibs instead? Okay, if I can't make it look like a reasonable trend line with two touches, so here, this is a quite nice trend line, isn't it? Okay, so I would draw it initially like this, and I'd be going, let's watch it here, and I go, oh look, this is quite, and then as soon as we do this and wash through it, that trend line's dead to me. So you need two touches to be, and then you're expecting the third touch to be a false breakout fail, and then it's a work after that. And so that's kind of, I'm using them for breakouts like that. I see some really bad trend line crimes out there. So trend lines, when you draw a trend line, you connect the highs and lows in a sequence. So you connect the highs in a downtrend or the lows in the same trend. You don't kind of randomly connect them between a trend, the next swing, or when they reverse. So this is not a trend line. This is support and resistance here. So the rules about third touches don't apply. Okay, so the next district docs, DNT. Yeah, I know district docs. Let me see if I've got, I'm nearly at the list of requests. So I'll see what I can do. Just 1 second. Now, Ren was requested. This one. This is a daily chart, and it's still in a downtrend in Ren. Now, if we take the most recent rally and we look for fib projections from this, and we see where we're at, potentially in Ren, we're sitting on this 1272 support here. So potentially 462 could hold, and we could rally from here. You know, we've sat on these lows for 6 days. We've retested them. So far, so good. but I'd be watching this like a hawk on a lower time frame to make sure that we do hold these lows, because if we don't, then 421 is next. So that's what I'd be looking for. Time to rally. 462, if this breaks, 421 is where REN Bitcoin goes next. Still in a downtrend. Hot. HOLO. Sorry. Get back. HOLO. I thought I had GRIN on my list, maybe, and I've missed it off. I did have GRIN on my list. My apologies. I can't remember who asked for this. Yes, I can. It was somebody on Twitter. So GRIN, and I drew it because it was a coin I haven't looked at before. This is a 4-hour chart of GRIN. It's a new coin. When you get new coins like this, they really do take their time calming down, and they kind of tend to build a range. And that you can mark. So here, from this high to the low, so far we've got a bit of a range going on, but I was going to say we really don't have enough information yet, and they tend to just go sideways until the word spreads and people notice them and they build a bit of a base. So GRIN, not really enough information to do technical analysis on this week, but maybe in a week or two. So I can't remember who asked for this on Twitter, but that's why it wasn't on the main list. Okay, so we're going to look at hot HOLO. Now, I'm going to tidy up our chart and we'll start again. Now, I'm really hoping in HOLO that this was a big wave 1, this is a big wave 2, big wave 3, and we're in a wave 4 before we make a new leg higher. And if we measure wave 1 against wave 3 here, or what we hope is wave 3, you can see that wave 3 was 1.6108 of wave 1, which is very common. Okay, so then the most common retrace of wave 3 is 38.2, sometimes 50%, but 38.2 is the most common, and that's kind of where we're sitting. Actually, we went a little bit lower, we went to 50. So on this first swing, so consolidating sideways in what I hope is a wave 4, and then I'm waiting for it to turn higher again and new highs. And very often wave 1 and wave 5 have fib relationships. So if we make it equal, we'll make a marginal new high to 48, and if we go 1.618 of wave 1, we go to 59 and 2.618 and so on. So another way I like to do it is do fib projections from this first correction as well. See where everything lines up. So we'll have a bit of a tidy up here. Okay. So now that we've done this, we can see that this first swing went to 2.618 of this first correction, and if this wave 5 is 1.618 the length of wave 1, it lines up with this 3.618 here at 58. So 58 is my target in HOLO hot if we can break out from this bullish flag. So now we just got to break out of our bullish flag. I'm just going down to 4 hour. I can draw a trend line this time. So I'm going to say if we break this trend line to the upside, then we're probably having done ABC in the next swing higher. And then that's when I would buy it. And I'm looking for 58 in HOLO Bitcoin. And I use a CCI. So yeah. Okay, so that's HOLO. Next one is Raven, and then BTT. Raven. Raven coin. This is another one where we're still in a downtrend. And I've been using fib projections on these bounces. So from this big bounce, we tested the 1272 perfectly. and then unfortunately dropped underneath it, and now it's resistance. So the 1.618 of this is down here at 263. Then we had this big correction here, and I put the fib projections on here, and the 1.618 of this swing and this swing both line up at 263 and these previous lows. So I think as long as we got rejected today, and this is a little bear flag in Raven coin, that we've still got a date down here at 263. And so I'm not sure if it is the best because we're, you know, headed lower. But if you really love Raven, and if you think it's a really great project, which a lot of people seem to do, then 263 would be a great place to buy it. So 295 is the fib resistance support. If we break that tonight, which is where we're sitting, 263 is where we go. So 295 support. Okay, so still headed lower for Raven. And then BTT. So BTT, if you want to know why Tron is doing so badly, BTT is the reason, because they didn't use TRX, they used this new BitTorrent coin thing. Now, this is just like HOLO, wave 1, wave 2, hopefully this is wave 3. And if we measure this like this, we do this, we went to 2.618, so that's all good. So again, standard normal pullback would be 382 or 50, but this was a really extended one, and we did it at the 1.618. I think as long as it's somewhere between the 61.8 and the 38.2, happy days. I also think on this is a continuation inverted head and shoulders pattern that we've made here in BitTorrent, and the break of these highs will signal that we're on our way up again, because we will have reversed the trend, the downtrend. Remember, downtrends are lower lows and lower highs, and as soon as you take out those lower highs with a higher low and a higher high, you've reversed the trend. So that's our inverted head and shoulders pattern. This, we should go twice the distance of this from the head to the neckline, and if we do that, then we're looking for 11,000 first target, and hopefully new highs in BitTorrent and correction over. So if correction is over, so first off, I know it's only small, but we'll do this anyway. So I think 14,760, and there it is. Okay. So the target for BTT on this next swing higher is 1470.60. Haven't quite done that right. Come on, there we go. That is where it's 2.618, the length of wave 1. If we extend higher than that, and I'm just going to put this 1272 in. Yeah, it sort of lines up with the 1272. It's not an exact science, unfortunately. But that relationship is very common. Okay. So yeah, bunched up moving averages, lovely flat range. If we don't make a new high, then we stay sideways in this range in BTT. And what we might do, you know, is a bit more of this and make a bigger base. Okay. So that is BitTorrent. So let's do some of your requests. I can't remember all of them. I remember DNT was a request, so we'll find DNT. So here's a daily chart of DNT. Let's tidy up my chart and see what's going on. Because I like, this has a really good look of making a base, doesn't it? And what I like about this is, if we say to ourselves, okay, in DNT, this 200 moving average is really important. When we got underneath it and got rejected, we were in a downtrend. Every time we rallied in July last year, in November, and again in December, the 200-day moving average was where we got rejected. So all the time that we go sideways, we suck the moving averages in. And so that the price that we have to pay to get above the 200 moving average after all this time becomes very cheap. And it becomes these prior highs and 365 above the 200 moving average in these prior highs. So whereas before we would have had to 470 and so on. So potentially making a decent base above 365 would be a turnaround. At the moment, it's got a good look, but I'd like to see it above these daily moving averages minimum to reverse the trend. And if it's not clear, as usual, I will trust a 236 Fib. But at the moment, it's not looking very good, is it? But there we go. There's our T3. Yeah. So let's say that these prior highs, we've got a bit of a double top here now going on. So short term, above 311, I think we're in a swing higher, and we're going to look to 365, but only above 365 are we back to the top of the range. So no, not a buy right now. Sorry. Gatechain, and I can't remember what any of the others are. Maybe the Dolex has got some. Gatechain and LOON. Okay, go. Hold on. Keep hoping for polymath to bottom. That doesn't happen. Gatechain. God, this chart looks the same. So, oh, yeah, you know, whenever you see this pattern, and we had 3 days of the same high, no trend reversal yet, unfortunately, in this one. This has got another bear flag look. So this is the double top, sideways range in Gatechain. But it's very clear when you know, it'll be very clear when we flip it. So we're doing a bit of sideways trading in this one. Now, if we because you're looking to see, is this a good reason to stop here? Is this pretty good Fib support? And it is pretty good Fib support, this 1272, but that doesn't mean that we can't squeak one more push lower and a new low to the 1.618 at 455. So be a little bit careful. A daily close below 500 points to 455 next. If we don't, if it's a false break and we get a sharp reversal, happy days. Not quite there yet, okay? So has Litecoin, Bitcoin made its top? Let's quickly, I'm just going to look at LOON first, because this is a bit more encouraging. Rather than trending lower, this is a pretty nice base we're building here. So got this little double level here. So I hate sideways markets so much. I'm trying to find something to say, because really there's nothing to say until we break out. You want to put an alarm on this. Now, there's two ways to put an alarm, okay? So the first thing you want to see is a close above the daily 50 moving average, which is in the middle here. So if I really like this project, I'd put my alarm here, okay? Because if I caught it on the move, I'd watch it. So I'd put my first alarm here. I got my alarm so loud, the whole house here. It's the dog barks, everything. Okay, so my first alarm is going to be at 1200. If it tags that, and then we close above that daily 50 moving average, then we're going to go to the top of the wedge. And then I'm going to put my second alarm there in case I miss the first one, because double bagger. And then if we break out here, happy days. I will then say, okay, pretty nice buy, we're on the move higher. Then whenever you've got this sideways consolidation like this, the previous highs are always going to be where you get sticky, and that's the top of the range. So your first target is going to be this high, which is 1544. Okay, but that's how I would do this. And I just have to sit and wait until it breaks out, really, because there's nothing to do until then. Has Litecoin Bitcoin made its top? Well, no, I don't believe that Litecoin Bitcoin has made its top, but and the reason is that we've reversed to the 618 and we should go back to the 382 fib. Okay, that's normal. Okay, but we are at a level where we pull back. Whenever you do a 618, 382, so I've drawn my fibs from this low to this high. Whenever you do a 618, 382, the 50 in the middle is always a bit of a tough pivot level. And so we've stalled, but we're looking for it to find support. If it doesn't come back too far, and if it doesn't come back more than 50% of this big green candle, I say we continue higher. If we go more than 50% of this big green candle, then maybe, and that would be in Litecoin Bitcoin, 11,196. So this is where somewhere around there. So on the weekly, that's where we really don't kind of want a daily close below under there. Then we're going to go all the way back down to this fib level, which you don't really want to ride out. And if you don't have to, plus, this weekly 50 moving average, if we're going to keep going higher, should be support. It shouldn't come back too much more than that. Okay, so this has been 2 hours and I'm really a little bit Ncash Eth I'll do, and then I'm kind of going to have to stop there. I'm really sorry. I'm just running out of steam. Nucleus Vision Ethereum. Here's the daily chart of this one. This is another one where we've done clearly a big kind of ABC up. So now we want ABC back and then another leg higher. And our second leg higher, we kind of want it to take us to the 200 moving average. That would be a good target like this. Okay, so if we get there now, this would be a really good place for us to stop, wouldn't it? And if I put my fibs in at the 618, this is kind of also a really good place for us to stop. The question is there any sign of us stopping here yet? Maybe. Maybe. If we look at it on an hourly, we have stopped going down. We are going sideways. Now we need to kind of go higher. And we need to see if this was kind of anything close to an equal correction. Not really. The risk is that we really continue lower to this 1338 level, which is where the better support is. So what would tell us that we've made a bottom here and we're not going to keep going and we've reversed? For me, honestly, I'm just going to hide this and say that a 236 fib the other way would say that we've made a bottom. So from this high, another thanks to the there. Okay, so if we trade above these previous highs and this pivot level, this kind of support and resistance level at 1511, then I'm going to say it's a buy and we've finished going down. And if we don't, or if we stop and carry on lower, then I'm going to look down here around 1340 for one more push lower before we turn higher again, maybe. So we either buy it here or we buy it there, and I'm not sure which is which. And if you don't want to miss it and you wanted to put an alert, how would you do that? Here, probably this would be one where this would be a good place for a trend line. Highs like this. Yeah, put your trend line on. That's another good way. Okay. So Nucleus Vision Eth, not quite clear if this is a bottom yet. Might need to go a little bit lower, but for sure above 15 it will be a thing. Okay, I do have a paid account on TradingView, and I wish, I wish they gave me a better discount for people, because I tried to get a really good discount for my group, and the best I could get was 30%. So I found that if you do their trial, and they'll start sending you, towards the end of the month trial, free trial, they'll start sending you to really good offers, and at one point they'll send you a 50% offer. Or I think there's a hack. How did we find to get that 50% off? I don't know. Hold out for that 50% offer, okay? Most people will get it. So there isn't any other way to do it. And I really think, in FX or in other markets or in futures, almost all brokers will give you an alarm, but obviously TradingView is a free platform, so okay. Bye everyone. Thanks for coming. See you next week.